History was made in Toronto with the first ever professional women's hockey league game.
All the little girls that look up and go, I'm going to be like her one day.
A federal court has ruled the government's use of the Emergencies Act during the convoy protests back in 2022 was not justified.
We do not agree. We will be appealing.
We are setting a national application intake cap for a period of 2 years, a temporary cap on new international student permits.
There has been a reliance on international students as a revenue stream, giving students no housing, no wraparound supports to succeed.
You are all under arrest for civil contempt of court.
CBC Indigenous has obtained RCMP footage that has never been made public before. The video shows arrests at Coyote Camp on the Wet'suwet'en Territory, a key location for the Coastal GasLink pipeline.
I love you right back.
This is 2 years after she announced that she had stiff person syndrome. For the final award of the night, Album of the Year, Celine Dion comes out on stage looking fantastic.
My sincerest apology to the victim, to her family.
It's been nearly 6 years since a 20-year-old woman went to London police with allegations of a sexual assault at this London hotel, allegedly involving members of Canada's World Junior team. 5 members of the team, 4 of them current NHLers, were charged with sexual assault.
The Federal Auditor General says it's impossible to know the final cost of the pandemic-era ArriveCan app. The federal government expected to pay about $80,000 for the app's creation. In the end, it spent at least $54 million. A giant storm that has been pounding Atlantic Canada. Cape Breton is under a local state of emergency.
I'm going to have rock-solid abs from this. It was about 20 feet. It took 9 hours total to shovel it off. See that? Did you get to enjoy that with me?
The first steps towards that national pharmacare plan.
The federal government will cover diabetes medication and devices and birth control.
The Quebec Court of Appeal has upheld the province's secularism law in its entirety. The law prevents some civil servants, including teachers and police officers, from wearing religious symbols like hijabs while on the job.
Mulrooney marked the history of this country time and time again, and now in his passing, Canadians may reflect on just how much he gave and how much he changed their country.
Our newest Walk of Famer, Eugene Levy.
They were unveiling the star on the Walk of Fame. From Hamilton to Hollywood, Eugene Levy.
Crisis in Haiti. Gangs have most recently captured the airport in Port-au-Prince.
We will be facilitating the travel of the most vulnerable Canadians in Haiti to the Dominican Republic.
This is pretty incredible. So amazing. We can see the corona.
I heard about this eclipse when I was a kid. I've been waiting for it all my life.
This story is a sensational one.
Exactly 1 year after the largest single gold heist in Canadian history, a major break in the case. Police have now identified the alleged thieves and started making arrests.
Joyful news following weeks of anxiety. Video shared by the Ihatasat First Nation shows members attempting to lure a stranded orca calf. A high tide at 2:30 a.m. helped the 2-year-old clear the sandbar that had trapped her.
Protests at some of Canada's largest universities are both growing and spreading.
They want universities to divest from businesses that they accuse of supporting the war effort. Because I'm a Redditor, I went directly to the Loblaws is Out of Control subreddit.
That boycott by some Canadians refusing to go into the Loblaw group of stores.
There are a lot of people talking about how they can't make ends meet.
Canada's biggest grocery chain has agreed to sign on to the National Grocery Code of Conduct.
It's a huge reversal.
That wild chase on Highway 401 near Toronto ended with a fiery crash and a tragedy. The death of an infant and 2 grandparents. The suspect also died.
There's no justification for carrying on with a pursuit of that nature.
The police have made several arrests in connection to the shooting of Hardeep Singh Nijjar.
We are investigating if there are any ties to the government of India.
An allegation Indian officials have angrily denied.
This pro-Palestinian encampment up on campus for just hours brought down in a flash and with a bang. Police moving in using force to remove students and their supporters.
Women's professional basketball is coming to Toronto.
Yeah, for the woman!
The city is getting a WNBA franchise, the first ever in Canada.
Convicted BC serial killer Robert Pickton has died.
To be honest, I jumped up and down.
I'm honored to join you to commemorate the bravery and sacrifice of the Canadian troops who gave so much 80 years ago.
The death of Donald Sutherland, the Canadian actor, and his celebrated career, the subject of so many tributes tonight. He loved what he did and did what he loved, and one can never ask for more than that, a life well lived.
Officials in Calgary are asking residents and businesses to strictly limit their use of water. It's because of a water main break northwest of the city.
Heartbreak for the Edmonton Oilers.
Sucks.
I was praying for this and then we didn't make it.
The WestJet strike is over, but not the travel nightmare for passengers.
Needless to say, I'm quite upset.
Thousands of LCBO employees are on strike, and the liquor board retail stores are still closed.
Take a look at what happened.
All of us are going to have to do a reflection on what our current security is.
A major Toronto highway underwater, cars submerged, drivers stranded as torrential rain pounded southern Ontario.
I am so upset right now.
That international IT outage that is affecting Windows systems around the world. It has caused disruptions to airlines, to businesses, banks, and healthcare systems. CrowdStrike, a cybersecurity company, is at the root of these problems.
Stand up, Canada! You've got a gold medal from Macintosh!
Canada tops the podium and makes history along the way.
Mom and Dad's house. Devastating scenes of destruction inside the historic town site of Jasper, Alberta. Homes leveled, cars burnt to shells.
Calgary is cleaning up after hail and heavy rain hit the city last night.
Exclusive details about Canada's role in the search for the Titan. This Canadian surveillance plane heard this underwater. The forces were highly confident those sounds were man-made by an object striking a hull.
A third death has now been reported in connection to the listeria outbreak linked to Great Value and Silk plant-based milks.
A wild scene in Montreal. A giant geyser shoots water meters into the air after a major water main break.
Both major Canadian railways off the tracks due to a labor dispute.
I am the first Canadian to win the World Air Guitar Championships.
Rest in peace, Johnny Matthew.
The tragic and sudden deaths of NHL star Johnny Gaudreau and his brother Matthew has sparked an outpouring of shock and grief. The brothers were killed by a suspected drunk driver.
Today, I notified the Prime Minister that I've ripped up the supply and confidence agreement.
In this heated political climate, members of Parliament are becoming used to being followed and taunted.
Who said it?
Somebody behind me said that.
Was it me? You sure? If it was me, I'd admit it, buddy. Was it you or not? If it was me, I'd admit it.
Though the threat of inflation has largely subsided, many Canadians are still feeling crushed by the cost of living.
A tribute to all those who paid a price in a healthcare system tainted by racism.
The Canadian Medical Association is deeply sorry for the harms First Nations, Inuit, and Métis peoples have experienced and continue to experience in the Canadian health system.
The Liberal government has survived its first confidence vote.
Our crews left Canada to repair and in some cases replace the electric grid that was destroyed by the winds and the rain and the flooding in that part of the United States.
India is accused of widespread violence on Canadian soil.
It is absolutely unacceptable.
Ottawa expels India's diplomats. India does the same as the RCMP goes public with stunning allegations.
Homicides, extortions, and other acts of violence.
Whoa. It was the first sign of a police offensive from Colombia to Canada. At the center of it all, this former Olympic snowboarder turned fugitive, now facing murder charges.
The final story of this election has not been written yet.
99% of votes have been counted. Why it could still take a week to know the winner.
We will reduce the number of immigrants we bring in, which will result in a pause in the population growth.
Murray Sinclair, the former senator who led the Truth and Reconciliation Commission, has died. He will also be remembered for pushing Canada's painful history of residential schools to the forefront of our culture.
Thank you very much. Wow.
Donald J. Trump will be the next U.S. president. The 10 Electoral College votes in Wisconsin takes him above the 270 Electoral College vote threshold and takes him into the White House.
He's posted this on Truth Social. I will sign all necessary documents to charge Mexico and Canada a 25% tariff on all products coming into the United States.
Taylor Swift's Toronto era continues.
It's the end of an era for Swift's record-breaking
making world tour.
We get to spend the last night of the Eras Tour with 60,000 beautiful people in Vancouver.
When Canada Post workers go on strike, the vast majority of letter mail just doesn't get delivered. With 55,000 workers on strike since mid-November,
what do we want? When do we want it? Now!
It's missed out on an estimated 10 million package deliveries.
Those are the Toronto Argonauts back home and partying hard with fans after their Grey Cup victory.
Donald Trump keeps mocking Canada and making cracks about Justin Trudeau. At the Mar-a-Lago dinner, he joked that Canada could become the 51st state if he imposes tariffs that tank the Canadian economy. And on social media, he called Justin Trudeau the governor of the great state of Canada.
The Prime Minister briefed opposition leaders about his dinner with Donald Trump and called on them to present a united front for Canada.
I understand why President Trump wants to take Canadian jobs, but why is this Prime Minister trying to help him do it?
A turning of the page in Syria. After over 50 years of rule by the Assad family, it took just 2 weeks for the regime to fall.
Syria is a free country! I just want to cry.
Today, we lowered the policy interest rate by 50 basis points. This is our 5th consecutive decrease since June and brings our policy rate to 3.25%.
On December 14th, the GST will be removed from some food items, books, and toys. Small business owners say there have been plenty of headaches.
Just hours before Freeland was set to deliver an economic statement to Canadians, she revealed she was instead leaving cabinet. Writing to Justin Trudeau, "On Friday, you told me you no longer want me to serve as your finance minister." She said she and the Prime Minister have been at odds about the best path forward for Canada. It's prompting more public calls for resignation from inside his own party.
Prime Minister, are you going to remain in office, sir?